Hey guys, I apologize for the shakiness of this video, but I wanted to do a quick tour, I guess, of AllMine Ranch just to give you a sense of it, since maybe you're new to the channel or, it's been a long time since I've done it. So that's my tiny house with a deck. Spent a lot of time on that deck. But the tiny house theoretically is temporary. I built it back in Boise, Idaho 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Took me about 2 years, about $20,000 to $25,000 depending on what you count as part of the build. But I found this property. It's just now sunrise. That's why the sun is so low. First things first, Stanley and I had to chase off a couple of cows this morning. Or truth be told, Stanley chased off the cows, and he's fearless. He'll run right up to them to the point where they like kick at him, and sometimes they spin around and stand their ground. But he always chases them off eventually. But sometimes he gets a little too close, and someday if he gets kicked, I won't be surprised. Alright, so this is the main house. It looks pretty much the same as when I bought the property. And one of the big reasons I bought it is because of those glass doors that open up. And as you can see, the view, well, maybe you can't see, it's probably blurry, but the view it opens up onto is pretty good. So I just got some temporary retaining wall situation going on here. Kind of looks like crap. I'm walking around the east side of the house now. It's just metal siding. I mean, these were two steel container buildings. They're 40 feet long and they're spaced now about 14 feet apart. So, got these nice ocotillos right here, which are nicely greened up because we've been getting rain lately. So now I'm around the back side of the house. I've got two cisterns that are 2,600 gallons each. So I got 5,200 gallons of rainwater capacity there. Just comes off the roof, down through the downspout, into these two tanks. And this is just a little temporary retaining wall situation because when it rains, the water just swoosh comes right down towards the house and would flood right against that back wall. But it hits this berm and comes around and hopefully goes away. If it doesn't, if the berm doesn't divert it, I got a little trench going right here. I have no idea if you can see that, but that's sort of a fail-safe to get water drainage. And then let's go inside the main house. I'll go off camera for a minute. 3 tires arrived yesterday. I'm looking forward to getting the 4th. It's pretty plain in here. It's just steel walls and a whole lot of lumber. It's basically just a storage space, but you can see the metal for the steel containers, right? So I have about 9 feet of width. And then here between the two, which is over dirt basically, I've got another 12 feet and then another 9 feet. So it's roughly 1,100 square feet. It's got these loft spaces up here. Got these really nice windows right here. More loft space up here. This essentially is what I will be living in. 1,100 square feet. It's not huge, but since I've been living in 250 square feet in the tiny house, 1,100 square feet sounds pretty good to me. But I'm doing everything in reverse order. I'm doing the outbuildings first. I'm getting the tiny house totally situated. A garage port, a workshop, an outdoor solar array, another solar array that is going to feed this main house. And once I get all that done, then I can finally start running the plumbing to connect to those rain cisterns that you just saw. But one of the reasons I bought this property is because one, the house was started and it had a full septic system on it, brand new, never used, so, and the rain catchment system. That would have been a lot of work to do it myself. But they also left me this structure, which is the 3rd steel container. It's identical to the 2 used on the main house, but it was just sitting out here, and I'll put up a picture on the screen of what it looked like when I first got here. But I built off of it, the sloped roof is the back wall of what I call a garage port, essentially a garage. And then I built the workshop, and that's still in progress. And this whole area in here where the scaffold sits and where I've got this hole in the ground, this is where a solar array is going to go. A huge solar array the size of a small building, whoa, bad angle, is going to go in there, which is going to feed the main house. So that's the next major phase of construction, is going to be building out a solar array, and inside that, or underneath it I should say, is going to be another closet for, you know, solar photon conversion chamber number 2. Anyway, I'm walking along the steel building right here. This is the very first thing I built. On the side of it, this is the watershed. So what happens is I pump water manually from those main 2 big cisterns into, if I can get it open. All right, my memory card got full. But anyway, inside here, you can see, let me get off camera, is an IBC tote. That's what we call these. Holds about 335 gallons. It's almost empty. But this is my water filtration system. It goes up to this first filter, sediment filter, and then just a water pump and a little pressure bladder. It goes across the roof and then over to these blue tanks. It essentially does a filtration here, a filtration there, then down to that stainless steel tube, which is a UV filter, and then out, whoops, through this garden hose, or RV hose. The RV hose goes under the gravel and feeds my tiny house. And this is the back side of the tiny house. Hopefully, you know, when I get behind the camera, oh, come on, focus on me. Autofocus, come on. When I get behind the camera, the microphone doesn't work. So when the audio fades in and out like that, I really apologize. Now, I was just showing you essentially the watershed. That was the first thing I built. I had to get it ready. And then the power for the tiny house is fed by a closet, which is not open, I don't think. No, I locked it up. Shit. I have to go get my keys. No, it's unlocked. All right, I'm in the garage port now. I'm going to show you, even though it's not really ready for prime time. This is my solar closet. Got an all-in-one inverter here. I've got 12 SOK batteries on these shelves right here. I've got a massive new server rack battery sitting here, and more equipment, and then it's all opened up, but there's a sub panel that feeds the tiny house right there. I've got a new main panel, which is not done yet either, which tees off to feed the tiny house and the workshop. The T that goes here goes up and then over, across here. That's all feeding the new workshop. So I essentially built this closet that I call the photon conversion chamber on one end of the container, that third container. And then on the inside, since I made it a carport, obviously I park my vehicle, I park my motorcycle. And now this is a new addition, even though it's trashed and looks like hell. I built this workbench very recently. So this is a new addition. No one's ever really seen that before. I just got a vise to put on it. But essentially, I've got an area now for a workshop. I've got some storage here with some cabinets. Those came out of the tiny house. And then on this end, this door is essentially storage for tools. Let me get a light on in here. Whoa, bright. This is just shelving, my last refrigerator that went on the fritz a couple of months ago, tools, my Ryobi tool walls right here. So essentially I just built a closet on each end, one for tools, the other for the solar. And then I got the workbench and a weight bench. This is obviously just a do-it-all space. And right here out in the open on the gravel, I got my little washing machine. And this is just open area to work on whatever project I need to work on. So that's the garage port. I definitely put a lot of effort into that and did a whole series of YouTube videos on how I constructed the garage port. So if you want, you can check that out. I just put a horse fence or a cattle fence here. This little gate that opens up. I got my temporary solar panels. Stanley, stay here. He wants to go chase cows that are nearby. So these are the temporary solar panels. They feed essentially the tiny house. and they'll feed the workshop, which this is obviously the newest addition, which is this workshop. So I did not film it because I built this during the period where I had quit YouTube. I'm not going to do an interior tour. That's a previous video from a couple weeks ago if you want to go check that out, or 1 week ago. But this is my new workshop dedicated to woodworking. So that's essentially the whole tour. Stanley, get your ass back here. Damn, he's halfway down the freaking street after I just told him to stay. That kind of stuff drives me nuts. Get in the house. Get in the house. Bad. I appreciate that he wants to chase. Get in the house. Go home. Go home. All right, now we know. Sorry. The dog is frustrating. That's not the house. He's trying to go in the truck. Anyway, that's a tour. So now I'm walking back towards the workshop and the main house again. So hopefully you've now got a sense of all the improvements I've made. I'm really looking forward to working in the shop and using these windows to enjoy the sunrise. That's pretty much the whole setup. And now I'm back, and again, this is where on this side of the workshop in the garage port, in this void where the scaffold sits, that's where the new solar array is going to go. It's going to face the south, which is this way towards the main house. It's all going to go there. The lines are going to go under the road and feed the back side of the house right here. So I know that wasn't very detailed, but at least sunrise. Isn't it beautiful out here? Everything's green from the rain. It's quiet, it's cool. It's going to get hot today, up towards about 95. But for right now, it's only about 78, 80 degrees maybe, which for summer out here in Arizona, that's reasonably cool. And then I'm not going to give you a tour of it, but the ugliest but highly useful, feature that I haven't shown you yet is my cargo trailer, which I've named Margot. This guy. Got a whole series of videos on how I built this thing and turned it into an RV. It says Ace Fleet Wash on it. It's not my business, not my phone number. You can call that phone number if you want. I've never tried. I don't know who's going to answer. But whenever I drive like an idiot pulling this thing, they're probably getting phone calls complaining about my driving. Anyway, that is a workspace that I can use as an office if I were to need it. Guests can stay in there. It's got a bed, it's got a kitchen, it's got full solar power situation with panels up on the roof, but it's not very attractive with the logo on there, and it kind of sits here blocking my view. I'm now going back up my ramp to my tiny house deck. So it just sits there doing its thing. I got a pile of scrap, but for the most part, I sit here on this deck and I enjoy this amazing view to the west and watch the sunset almost every night this direction. This is my little cactus garden. I have a couple of videos on planting that, although it's a bit ragtag now and looks like crap. Anyway, that's essentially AllMine Ranch. That's everything I've done in 2 years. I know sometimes it seems like I've done a lot. Sometimes it seems like I've done almost nothing. Just sort of the way it goes. I have so much more to build out and do. But I am making progress. I have 4 years on my building permit. I'm already 2.5 years into that. So theoretically, I need to build the big new solar array, the new solar closet, all the gear that's going to house the power equipment for the main house. I need to get that done. It's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be big and difficult to do on my own, but that's coming up in the next few months towards winter. And then I'll have basically all of next year to work on plumbing, power, framing, and putting in windows, everything I need to make the main house livable, but that's coming last. So I'm kind of doing it in a weird reverse order, but that's the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. You know, as I was wrapping up the video, I just realized the one thing I didn't give you a tour of, which is a pretty big improvement, is the trails that I've made here. I've got almost a 1/4 mile of trails out on the desert that I can walk Stanley on and do some running. And I did register recently for a 10K road race up in Tucson. It's too hot really to train right now, but hopefully over the next week or two things will come down slightly and I can get my butt out on that trail, you know, at least early or late at night and train for that. But I didn't show you the trails. Maybe I'll walk that in a future video or multiple future videos, but I just wanted to share that that is another improvement that I've made here. All right, see you again. Bye.